Spaghetti alla chitarra. We'll be cutting this homemade spaghetti pasta using a traditional chitarra pasta cutter. Here, our resident pasta granny Lulu will show us how to make the homemade spaghetti from scratch using an egg pasta dough. Lulu says that spaghetti alla chitarra is popular in the Abruzzo region of Italy. Chitarra means guitar in Italian. In looking at the kitchen instrument used to cut the pasta, we can see where spaghetti alla chitarra gets its name. Since this instrument can be difficult to find, Lulu points out that many pasta machines come with a spaghetti cutter setting. If you already know how to make egg pasta dough, feel free to skip to minute 3 in the video, otherwise follow along. To make egg pasta dough for 4, we will need 3 whole eggs, about 300 grams of flour, and about a teaspoon of olive oil. The general rule of thumb for making fresh homemade pasta is about 1 egg per 100 grams of flour, depending on the size of the eggs. Here Lulu has removed a little bit of the 300 grams of flour until she can determine how much flour is needed for 3 whole eggs. To make fresh homemade pasta by hand, make a well in the flour and add the 3 eggs in the center of the well. Beat the eggs by hand using a fork, pulling in a little bit of flour at a time from the sides, like this. When the eggs are no longer running, you can begin to mix the pasta dough by hand. Making fresh homemade pasta by hand without a machine means you need to knead the pasta dough as well. It's good exercise, and our Italian grandma is a real pro. Here Lulu is saying that indeed these 3 eggs were rather small, and so she won't be needing to add the remainder of the flour, because the fresh pasta dough is already the right consistency. Lulu explains that you know you're done kneading when the pasta dough is smooth to the touch and doesn't stick to your hands. And when you push on the pasta dough, it should be firm enough to spring back, like this. Cover with plastic wrap and let the fresh homemade pasta rest for at least a half an hour. Here Lulu will be using an Imperia pasta machine to stretch the pasta. After the dough has rested for at least a half an hour, we want to stretch the pasta to a thickness of 2 to 3 millimeters. This will give us a square pasta noodle, the shape for which the spaghetti alla chitarra is famous. As usual, we want to reduce the space between the pasta rollers with each pass, in this case until we reach a thickness of 2 to 3 millimeters.
Naturalmente più erta, la sfoglia è più erta di quella che è delle tagliatelle.
Here Lulu points out that the end goal here is a square noodle.
Uno spessore, in quanto lo spaghetto quando si va a tagliare deve essere quadrato.
And we're on to the final pass. Of course, Lulu says you can always use a rolling pin to roll this pasta out by hand, as she demonstrates in the video for tagliatelle. Using this tool to cut the spaghetti alla chitarra is thought to give it a porous texture that allows sauce to cling better to it. The process is fairly simple. Use a rolling pin to press down on the sheet of pasta, pushing the pasta through the metal wires. Sprinkle the chitarra immediately with flour to prevent them from sticking together and assist in pulling apart any stubborn noodles still clinging together after the cut.
Quadrato.
Lulu points out that the process of pushing the pasta through the wires does extend the pasta a little bit more, so make sure to cut the sheet of pasta a little bit shorter than the chitarra that you're using to cut it. Cook in salted water for 2 to 3 minutes or until al dente. If you don't plan to cook immediately, divide the spaghetti alla chitarra in 4 portions or freeze on a flat surface like this. Once frozen, you can cover the pasta with plastic or something similar. The traditional condiment for spaghetti alla chitarra in Abruzzo is a tomato sauce with tiny veal meatballs. However, Lulu says this pasta is also popular paired with seafood, such as mussels and clams.
Nice.
E buon appetito! Subscribe below for more recipes like this from Italy and beyond.